Emotional molestation. This is a term that I've coined to talk about what happens to us when we have our emotions and our feelings pulled, tugged, manipulated, and abused without us knowing, unconsciously. So before I go into explaining what I mean by that, I want to ask people to realize that this might be a triggering video. I am going to compare emotional molestation to sexual molestation. And if folks who are watching this have been sexually molested, this might feel a bit triggering. And even if you haven't, this still might feel a bit triggering. What I'm going to ask you to do is to ground yourself. And what I mean by that is to take some deep breaths. And really calm your central nervous system. We're going to tell your central nervous system that you are safe and that this is new information that might be helpful. And it might be a new way of understanding something that you've experienced all your life. You might really recognize this. The other thing that I think about this is that I really feel that naming things or having a language for them is actually a meditation. There are so many times in session when I'm working with people where I have a way of saying something or reflecting it back where people feel so understood, so profoundly heard that in itself it just falls like a meditation, like a release, like freedom. So when things are named or put into language or reflected back, it actually is the beginning, or can be the beginning, of healing. So let's continue. I'm going to now describe this term that I've coined, emotional molestation. When I keep hearing some of my clients talk about their relationship with their parents or with a lover or situations with bullies, I kept feeling that there was a resemblance to sexual molestation. Let me explain that. In the case of child molestation, sexual molestation, the separation between the body and the internal experience is pretty dramatic. And what can sometimes happen during sexual molestation is the body will respond sexually. So sometimes the body will have an orgasm or will have a sexual response to what is being done to the body. That in no way means that the child or the person is experiencing this as spiritually or mentally pleasurable. It means that just like if I flick my nose, I'm going to have a reaction like this. My body will have a reaction. If there's a loud noise, I might have a startle response. My body will have that reaction. If something sexual is being done to my body, especially when I'm young, especially when I'm unconscious, my body might respond, especially if it's something entirely new. Sometimes in these situations, the molesters think that there's some sort of rapport, that the child or the person is actually responding with pleasure. This is not the case. The body might be responding in an organic way, but mentally and spiritually and internally, there is an aggravation. There is a violation of a natural response. Now, I'm laying down the groundwork because this is really important. Emotional molestation for me means this. Children are naturally kind. Babies, toddlers are born empathic. They will feel for other children. They will feel for adults. They have a natural response to an adult crying or other children crying or someone's rage. There's an organic, impulsive response to these situations. And the idea of kindness is really essential here. The idea of wanting to take care or respond lovingly in those situations is a natural, organic response. And so when there is an abusive parent, a neglectful parent, a manipulative parent, the child will naturally respond with emotions of trying to save, trying to fix, trying to harmonize environments. And some of the ways to do that is the child will become extra good, extra quiet, extra helpful, extra maybe not being their full self in order to make the environment more peaceful. Parents in these situations might use this. Okay, now this can happen unconsciously. For example, a mom who's exhausted all the time and stressed just because she's working 3 jobs or works at night or is going through a divorce, a very nasty divorce, and isn't mindful of how that's impacting the environment. The child will want to help emotionally and possibly even physically, will straighten up, will clean, just to keep the parent happy. This happens all the time. All the time. So it doesn't even have to be directly abusive or directly neglectful or directly manipulative. The child will impulsively want to emotionally and physically, but emotionally respond to harmonize the environment. So in this way, the child can be emotionally molested. The other case this happens is, for example, in a bullying situation for a child in elementary school or as a teenager. In these situations, and with big bullies during war, for example, what happens is the person who's kind, who has normal and organic responses to people being aggressive or mean or destructive, The normal response is to want to understand why. And if that person or that teen or that child doesn't get a response, doesn't understand why they're being bullied, they will defend, they will explain, they will beg, they will be extra nice, extra kind, they will hide. These are all responses to trying again to create peace. Remember, the kind heart wants peaceful interactions. This is normal humanity. This is original humanity, Humanity 101. And so this impulse towards the kind heart, towards harmonizing an environment, creates explanations, defenses, protective mechanisms. The third case that is what I'm working with the most right now is the empath. As adults, we learn that we were either highly sensitive children, very highly sensitive, and that our empathic abilities were probably more heightened than other people. Or if there was a traumatic environment or traumatic incidents, that empathic nature, let's say, went up from a volume from 1 to 10 up to 10. And this creates a human identity that I call, and that a lot of people are calling, the empath. And the empath has an uncanny, and in some cases, really what seems like an extrasensory ability to feel what other people are feeling. Not just to have sympathy, but to feel what other people are feeling. And so the empath is hardwired to harmonize environments, to maintain peace, to collaborate, to cooperate. And so situations where there is suffering, situations where there is aggression, situations where there is bullying will activate the empath's natural responses to want to harmonize again, to create peace, and usually to deplete themselves, to give so much of themselves in order to make this environment or this relationship better. In situations, let's say, people have been talking about this a lot between the empath and the narcissist, there tends to be a very locked-in pattern where the narcissist, the narcissistic parent, the abusive parent, the narcissistic lover will actually manipulate this very aspect of the child, of the empath, of the person who tends to have a kind heart, which is actually most of us. And so knowing this information, that the empath will automatically respond with wanting to save, fix, explain, beg, defend. People with a narcissistic nature or an abusive nature or a bullying nature, everything that I've described, will take advantage of that. And so the empath will automatically, impulsively, just like the body responds organically, will automatically try and make things better, basically. And so let me give you some examples. In the most benign situations, it could be a parent who's always complaining, always suffering. And so that constant suffering in the environment or constant complaining will activate the child or the lover to fix, to save, to get very quiet, get very funny, always with the attempt of trying to make things better. In the worst of situations, the narcissist or the abusive lover or parent will, boss even, there's so many situations like this, will actively manipulate and juggle someone's feelings. They want you to feel bad. They want you to feel like you're hurting them, that your existence or what you do or that you owe them. And so feelings here are fear, guilt, and shame come up all the time, where someone is actively manipulating those feelings of making you feel that you are hurting the situation, the person, the environment. And the heart, the emotions, the sentiments will rise up impulsively and organically until you check. So an example at its very worst case might be a parent who's been abusive all of this person's life, extremely verbally critical, and maybe even physically abusive all of this person's life. And as this parent is aging and maybe having more physical ailments, and maybe as the person is individuating, getting therapy, getting help, begins to guilt the child, even if it's an adult child, that now they're ailing, now they're sick, now they're getting older, and it's up to the child, the adult child, to take care of them, even though they've been neglectful, aggressive, abusive their entire life. And anyone with a kind heart or an ability to have empathy and sympathy for somebody else will feel like they have to respond to those situations. That they have to, again, deplete themselves, give themselves, and accept manipulations, abuse, or aggressions, because the narcissist or the abuser or the bully is saying, you are bad, basically. You are wrong if you do not take care of me or take care of this situation. Another example can be with partners, with lovers, with in a marriage where someone is always suffering, always losing jobs, always getting sick. And so the other partner is the one holding up the household, holding up the emotional household, holding up the physical household, responsible, because usually the folks, the empaths, the folks who have felt responsible to harmonize the environment have the weight of always feeling like they are the responsible ones to take care, to fix, to save, to repair. And this becomes impulsive. If left unconscious, this becomes a way of being until the person depletes themselves, till the person loses themselves. And so it is very easy to manipulate, to emotionally molest someone who's willing over and over and over to harmonize an environment, to make it happy. Now, what happens in these situations is that it's a carrot. There's never reaching an end to this until, of course, there's therapy and a lot of guidance around these type of situations. And this can become almost OCD in terms of responding, in terms of saving. So there's so much more to say on this topic, so much more to say, but I wanted to just start presenting it and The feelings are, I feel shackled, or I feel pulled, or I feel, this is an important one, that I am a very bad person if I don't save, if I don't fix, if I don't take care of this. And that's what can be used. And that is what I call an emotional molestation. So please ask me about this. Ask me about this concept. I do use it a lot, and I think about it a lot, in particular with children and with empaths. And slowly we can heal out of these impulsive, organic responses, just in the same way we can heal from sexual abuse. And we can teach the body. And the way that that's done, whether it's emotional or physical or sexual abuse, is that through consciousness, through therapy, through healing, through tools, and through alignment, body, mind, spiritual alignment, we can heal, because we become congruent, because we become coherent. And so what does that allow? It allows for choice. We can consciously choose when to have our body feel pleasure, when to harmonize. We get to choose what relationships we want to be in, what relationships we want to create peace in. But it also requires that we are also the receivers of peace. An important thing to remember about this is that when I use the term OCD, what I really mean is that it becomes incredibly compulsive and impulsive to try and fix a situation or help the person that in a constant and chronic state. And the reason why this is happening is because there's a sense of danger. Same with sexual abuse. There's a sense that something very dangerous will happen. The person with the good heart, the empath, the child, will be punished, or there will be silent treatment, or there will be a smear campaign against them if they don't quickly fix, solve, save the situation. So trauma comes from this idea that there's always danger in the room unless the person who's empathic responds very quickly. And I'm not talking here about just helping someone who's in need, or helping someone who's sad, or helping someone who has a situational tragedy. I am talking about a way of being, a way of existing in constant suffering, constant complaining, constant abuse, constant aggression. These are situations that are chronic and toxic. Okay, I want to be really clear about that. It's very likely that after this video, you're going to have a lot of questions. You're going to maybe have a lot of feelings about it. Talk to me. Talk about it. Share it with people. Have this conversation, because you now have a new term, and you'll feel it when it happens. You'll feel it. And I want to talk about this more because I think it's quite powerful. But what I'm really saying here is, it is easy to emotionally molest the kind heart. And children and empaths and people who human empathy, normal human responses to suffering can be emotionally molested. Okay? So why don't we just end this, since it's such an intense subject, with a breath. With the grounding breath that calms and stabilizes the central nervous system. And I'll see you again here.